Good afternoon again. I'm doing this one right after one after another, guys, because I'm feeling it. When you're feeling it, do it. Okay, so here's our beautiful board. It looks way better when you actually get a great visual on it like this. It actually doesn't even look at, it looks better in person. But this is how I have to set it up so you can see it. You can probably hear my kids whining in the background. Just ignore it. I wanted to get as close as I could up on it. Okay, so you could see. With painting stamps, you can see it's definitely like leaving a lot to the imagination because it's not crisp and perfect, but still though, even to soften that even more, I wanna blend that out. So I have my trusted sand sponge, which probably needs some new ones, but I like them when they're this way because they're not as sharp and rough. And then this is way too gritty of a sandpaper, but I would use this for some distressing. I have these Annie Sloan sand pads that I've had for a long time. They almost don't sand, they just very lightly like rub things off. They're very fine grit, but they're worn down. And then I use this all the time, most likely for everything. It's 220. I always start with the easiest, okay? The reason I love a sanding block is I tend to be heavy-handed. I like to push and grind, and this will keep the distribution of weight even. So, bear in mind again, guys, yes, would it stink if I screw up? I would have to do a lot of this over. But honestly, if I did a section too heavy sanded, I could just paint this right here. Paint over it and do a couple stamps and fill in. So I'm not going to go do the whole thing. Just going to do lightly one section. If I don't like it, if I really go too far with it, then I can do it over. So just gently distressing. Distressing does not come from pushing hard. It comes from the friction of rubbing back and forth. I'm fading it out a little bit. Okay, can you see those starting to fade? The green in particular will come first because that's milk paint. That thick yellow chalk paint might take a little longer to distress out a little bit. Yeah, you can see it's wearing out. Trying to get rid of that hard paint look and soften the edges a little bit. Yep. Okay, so I'm liking this better. I think the sponge wasn't working it enough. It's really toning it down. I want to go easier on these edges right here because I don't, well, we're going to distress it a little bit, but I don't want this whole thing distressed because remember I don't want it to stand out. So I'm just trying to distress the paint down. Take some of that brightness away. Guess what? Chalk paint in my face? Not a big deal because there's no chemicals in it. Drinking my coffee, guys. Getting through second part of the day. Okay, now look at the difference between this one and this one. Can you see it? When you're working it, you kind of forget, but if you have something to compare it to, this one's really toning it down. This is still, it's more painted, thick lines, wearing it down, blending it in a little, softening it all up. We don't want it to look like a third grader did it. I don't want it to look too like a wallpaper, too kitschy. All right, that's enough for me, okay? I still want to be able to see it, but I blended it down a little bit. Very faint here when I'm looking behind the video screen of what you guys see. It is much brighter in real life. See? But I softened it just enough. Look at it compared to this guy. See the difference? Bright. Looks like a fresh painting. Toned it down a little bit. So I'm going to do this one. And then I'll get back with you in about, I don't know, I'm going to record in about 10 more minutes and we're going to distress these together. Bye.